coming out of recess. And our next topic is a discussion about the use of CARES funding for schools. And we are being joined by a variety of different folks from the school districts. So welcome. And who wants to kick this conversation off? Mary?
Commissioner French, I'll kick it off. I want to thank you all for being on the call today, zooming in with us. I handed out a spreadsheet to the commissioners a little bit earlier, and we talked a little bit about it. But I would like to, have you guys, I think, talk about the that you're bringing forward to the commissioners. I think we, are definitely feel for you in this time that everybody's very busy and trying to do everything you can to get learning happening in your districts. And so again, thank you for being here. And I'm not sure, it's like, I was thinking Michael Dunn would be on and would kick it off, but I don't see him. So who would like to just raise your hand? Who would like to go next?
All right, Ben, go ahead.
Commissioner French and Board of County Commissioners and staff, thank you very much for the opportunity to address you today and talk about, I think, the varied needs of school districts across the region. I think that we all bring a different viewpoint of how CARES dollars might be used in our districts. I'll start with just talking about, and all of those needs are certainly, I think, vital and important. In the Central Valley School District, our needs come with quality opportunities for our parents to have their children in either day camps or child care sites. And with that comes a couple of challenges, whether that's daycare sites without the robust internet connection that is needed to serve our children who are in their care, to providing opportunities for last resort childcare, including our active military folks, as we want to continue to keep our base strong. And I know Mr. Ames will probably touch on that just a little bit. To supporting two of our partners in the Valley, a new partner in the Spokane County Boys and Girls Club that has reached an agreement with the Central Valley School District to operate a Boys and Girls Club out of one of our formerly used school buildings at Keystone Elementary School. And as they are supported by us and we support them and really target our working families and opportunities for them to have access to day camps and support for their children as they learn. The Boys and Girls Club and the Hub are two of our main partners that have stepped up and will be helping us support our working families, especially those families who are of lower income. Our ask includes support for 250 students in our last resort child care, virtual student support child care. We have established 10 church sites that will host students for support while they were online learning. And then we've categorized it also as high speed internet support for those partner locations. So in order to support folks in offering that, we're looking to provide them internet access, whether that's increasing their internet access through a current provider or providing hotspots and other solutions. The thing that I want to point out about our efforts in childcare is that these are very small cohorted groups of kids, so that we're not bringing 400 kids back to a school setting, but you're looking at 10 to 15 to at the most 20 kids in really controlled settings where we can make sure social distancing practice is happening. And we can then start to ease our way back into phasing into in-person learning. Those are our asks. I know that there are other needs, especially with food service to our children and our families during this time. We provided great meal service during the spring. I think we did, and it was a success because we were able to not be encumbered by charging students free and reduced lunch students for those meals. That waiver has not yet come through from the federal government. And so as we move forward, that will be an emerging need for us as well. I want to thank you for your the opportunity to address you today, and know that that I think the needs across our county are varied, but they're all important, and would ask that you consider all of the asks that are before you today. And it would stand for any questions about the Central Valley School District ask.
Any questions for Ben? Okay, so who wants to jump in here next?
Hi, this is Tim from Medical Lake School District. Again, much like Ben said, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. It's truly appreciated. If you look at the screen of superintendents, Medical Lake probably represents one of your smaller school districts in Spokane County. There's a few of us like that. We serve 1,800 kids, so we have probably a little easier time addressing some of the needs versus a large Central Valley. Ben touched base on quite a few things. So in small communities like Medical Lake, there's 2 child care facilities here. One's on East Lake, serves Eastern Washington Hospital, and mainly their employees. And then we have one local facility, which is full at capacity right now. So we still have a need to address. I was on a town hall with Fairchild Air Force Base on August 20th, speaking to daycare and childcare. So for Fairchild, they, at that time, August 20th, they had 84 students or families who didn't know where their children were going to daycare. That's with the exception of Medical Lake students. We're considering Fairchild as central staff members. So what we're doing is we're going to call it student care. They're coming into our schools, and we're going to space them out in an internet cafe. We have connectivity. Our ask on this one is we do have to staff those positions. So we use para educators to staff those, and one in each building. We have 4 buildings, and that's meeting the need of our own staff who needs daycare and parents who need to work daycare. So we went through, made them a priority. So right now we're hopefully meeting the need. But again, Fairchild has 80 spaces at their youth center. Right now they filled 28, but they can't find providers is the issue. So they did multiple asks at Fairchild, please, we can hire you, you can have a job, you could create your own daycare. And I spoke with the commander's person last week on Thursday. I'm not sure the status of that. The issue is we have space at Michael Anderson to house kids, but they're not Medical Lake students. So I'm trying to get everybody to choice in from Spokane, Meade, and Central Valley. So we're asking military kids to choice into our district. And then, of course, they'd realize we're a better district and they'd stay here. So I just have to get that in there. We looked at space around here to rent a local facility, which like Ben's talking about churches with the internet, that's about $300 a week for us here. If you went 12 weeks, that's going to add up to some money. Technology-wise, we have about 10% of our population who doesn't have internet access. Remember, Medical Lake still has some rural sections, and we figure $50 per month for that. If school runs for 10 months, that's a big ask of potentially $100,000. The staffing to take care of kids. So what this is, we're calling it it's called child educational access. So kids won't go with a daycare concept. They'd go with support from a para-educator. Of course, they'd go outside, they'd eat lunch, they'd do things like that. With 4 of those paras, that's going to cost us some money as well. So that would probably be about $30,000 if it went for 4 months to staff those. Right now we have 4 people in line. We're going to temporarily hire them to see how long this lasts. So we already have those positions aligned, and it will be coming out of our general fund or levy dollars. if you have any questions for me,
Yeah, so Tim, have you quantified what the ask would be for CARES Starholders funding? You got a number on that?
Al, I can add it up. Yeah, well, right now, if you ask me today, is Tim, what would you ask for? I would ask for at least $30,000 to cover our staff. I'd ask that we narrow down our 200 people who need internet access at home. But that might be, that's 100,000 right there. If we figured $50 a month for our 10% of our families who don't have internet access and to set it up for them at home. So basically 130. I know it's a big ask, but Mary said ask away, so I'm asking.
Okay, and then Ben, the number I've got for you is 420,000, is that right?
That is correct. And that gets us our ask is really for the first 3 months of the school year.
Okay. And Tim, your ask is just through the end of this year, right?
Yeah, with hopes that something happens, we can come back mid-year.
Okay. Who wants to be next? Adam?
I'll go. So my name is Adam Swineyard, the superintendent for Spokane Public Schools, and just appreciate the opportunity to.
Adam, can you turn up your volume or something? Go ahead. Well, wait a minute. We're putting it up on our side. Maybe it's on ours. Go ahead.
Is that better?
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you for the opportunity to share some information about our needs related to our response to the COVID crisis. And we are working really hard to mitigate to the best of our abilities what this means for our families, beginning the year in a distance learning model as we follow the guidelines and recommendations of our local public health officials. And so as childcare has certainly surfaced as a predominant challenge for our families and the impact that has to our local economy, we are relying on a variety of different strategies to support them. One is our local providers are continuing to step up and offer slots, although they are challenged to meet the level of need that's in our community. And so to help mitigate that, we are offering a full day option that is provided by our Spokane Public Schools staff. And so this is an 8-hour, 5-day-a-week option that we will provide in our schools. We recognize that we have to monitor very closely the total number of kids that are on site in our buildings at any one time. Otherwise, that would defy the logic of starting in a distance model. So we're looking at having 20 to 40 students per site, following strict cohorting and safety protocols to ensure everyone is safe. This closely resembles the childcare option that we provided to first responders and medical care workers throughout the spring and summer months. We were highly successful in maintaining those safety protocols and keeping everyone safe with that model. And so our interest is to scale that to meet more of the needs of our families as we move into the fall. We've had approximately 700 families have registered for that option. That represents about 2% of our total student population. And we have been diligent about communicating that this is intended to be one option of a variety of options that families might consider, but wouldn't be able to represent the singular choice for childcare in the Spokane Public Schools District. We've had approximately 65% of those families have requested scholarship application so that we could provide it at no cost to them. The cost for paying families is $25 per day. We're utilizing our existing staff that we're unable to provide meaningful work for during our school building closure to staff these programs. And the cost is for the additional staffing requirement in order to meet a safe student staff ratio and the personal protective equipment that we need to provide for those students. So as you're aware, our staff, the vast majority of them they're providing real-time instruction to our students. So our teaching staff, our intervention staff, but we do have some employee groups that we are shifting into these roles, and then we'll need these additional resources to help mitigate that cost and provide the scholarship funds.
So the total ask is, what I've got here is 618,204.
So we proposed a joint ask between city CARES dollars and county CARES dollars. And so I am kind enough to be joined by our CFO, Cindy Coleman, and she's going to talk a little bit about the distribution of funds between those two asks.
Okay. Cindy, you're up.
Thank you. We applied for funding from the city for about $200,000, and the city's CARES funding only goes through October 15th. So we were looking at all of the costs presented for the options included in our request being funded by the city from when school starts till the 15th of October. And then really we're looking at trying to be able to carry that forward. In our scenario, we ran everything going through December. None of us know exactly how long it will be before we can return to in-person school, but we did a scenario that goes through there, and we presented everything that has monthly costs as well. Are there questions about the costs?
So what is the number to the county then?
The county would be $418,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi,
Josh?
Commissioner French, my question would be for Carrie Griddall. Carrie, just to confirm, if these the individuals had been budgeted in another budget, that is no longer a CARES requirement, correct? So
Yes.
we would be able to pick up the cost
Correct.
of employees. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Correct.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? So that brings us to Sean Woodward.
Hi there. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I guess we're in a very unique situation here in the Meade School District where we have about 10,500 students or so. And you are probably aware by now that our school board made the decision to allow our students to come back for face-to-face instruction. With that, obviously, there are some big fiscal challenges. We are looking at about 75% of our families are choosing to come back for face-to-face roughly today. So between 23 and 25% will be engaged in remote learning, much like the majority of the districts in the county. So for us, probably the biggest issues are, and this will be similar to other districts in Spokane County, assumedly kids will come back to face-to-face instruction everywhere at some point, in that we have increased costs for personal protective equipment. So we have received about $950,000 in CARES funding. All of that has been spent, not just on PPEs, but technology and other kinds of things. The technology piece continues to be a challenge. We're needing to go, just like other districts in the county, to a full one-to-one student to devices, and not all of our families are in the boat where they can afford that for their kids. And we also have the same connectivity issues that other districts do as well. Probably the biggest challenge that we have, though, and again, this will come to other districts in time, is the whole physical distancing requirements in classrooms. And I'll start at the elementary level. Our K-5, all of our families have the option to come back. Again, roughly 70 every day. So all of our schools will be at about 75% capacity. School districts staff in such a way not to ensure adequate physical distancing in a normal year. You staff in such a way that you have adequate space in a 900 square foot classroom for your students. We're finding that about the max that we can put in for face-to-face instruction in any one of our classrooms is about 22 students to maintain 6 feet between all of the desks. So as you can imagine, typically at the elementary level, at the third, fourth, and fifth grade levels, we're above 22. So we're staffed for 30 students in a fifth grade classroom, but we can only fit 22 safely into a room. And again, I'm still a little bit confused as to what care dollars can be spent on, and so on and so forth. But we're looking at, to get right with staffing, we're looking at needing to hire between 10 and 15 new teachers that otherwise we wouldn't be hiring, given the, again, the physical distancing requirements. That's a pretty large price tag, and I appreciate you asking. We'll take any support that we can get, obviously. If you decided to spare $1,000 for the Meade School District, we're all in, so thank you. The cost for 10 to 15 additional teachers, though, this year would be between $750,000 and $1.1 million in staffing. So I know that's huge, but I was asked to attend and make an ask, and that's where we're at right now. And we really appreciate any support that you can give us.
Okay.
And Sean, I'll just say that CARES dollars could only be used till the end of this year. So if you could look at that, ask for just what would be through the end of December.
Yes. So yeah, good. That's a good point. So for us, we're going to be hiring regardless. We're going to be hiring teachers for the full year. And our board, as they should, that's what a reserve fund is for. They're going to be dipping into the reserve. So any support that you can give even through December is fantastic, and it will allow our board not to go too deep into the reserve, because that's not good either. So again, knowing that it only goes through December.
Right. So if you could just work with your CFO Wayne Leonard and let me know. That would be great, just so we kind of have a ballpark as to what that is.
Let's see. Okay, we'll do that. I'll send something by the end of today, just the staffing costs through December 31.
And just so it's clear, those are the federal guidelines. Those aren't, that's not a stipulation that we're putting on those dollars. Those come from the feds. So
perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the other conversations we were having before you folks joined us was around food. And none of these requests address the need for food supplements or anything like that. So what do you anticipate happening there? Ben?
Commissioner French, just got an email that looks like there's some extension of the USDA waiver. Just came in right now. And so we would have to evaluate that before we would formalize a meal a nutrition services ask. But I really appreciate the opportunity to reevaluate that and get back. I think meals are important to all families. And one of the things I'm concerned about is that during this time, some of our families who may have lost employment over the spring may not have filled out the free and reduced lunch applications, and food would be delayed to them or would be out of their reach. And if we were able to capture that, at least for a time, with that waiver, I think it would be a great thing. If the waiver doesn't cover that, the ability to offset our costs would be greatly appreciated.
Well, I know that food is a priority for the board, and we've contributed to the Second Harvest Food Bank and stuff, and so I think that would be a priority. Commissioner Kearns, were you going to make a comment here? Okay.
Just to jump on to Ben's deal, is that did come out this morning, and the waiver will last till December. So now, when we're transporting, every student now will eat for free. So we're not charging any kids. So Commissioner French, that's why you probably didn't hear the ask today, because we're going to have to start charging kids. But like I said, that goes through December, and we probably need to run some additional numbers, like Ben said, to see what that's going to cost.
Okay. Commissioner Cooney, did you have a comment?
I was just going to, tack on to that. So the waiver will allow you guys, that will pick up the cost of that for you. Is that correct? Or most of it. and that's where we can't, if you're getting federal dollars from them, we can't supplant that, but we can fill any gap that occurs from that. So.
I haven't seen the waiver yet, but the waiver that was in place for the spring did allow us to feed all students, and it was covered under federal program, just like National School Lunch Program. So in that case, for any districts that are doing something such as busing to deliver food to apartment complexes of high need, that would be a potential area where if there was an interest in supporting food, support there would be helpful.
Okay.
Great, thank you. I have to say hi to Cindy. We haven't seen each other for a while.
Yes, it's great to see you, Mary.
Okay, any other comments, suggestions, criticisms?
I would just say thank you very much for entertaining this. I know there's a lot of pressures across the county, and you have lots of needs that you need to address. I appreciate greatly this. We all know we all have our own CARES dollars, but as our CARES dollars have been consumed for us in the Central Valley School District in a very for our virtual learning backbone. We ran a summer school program that was going to be in person and was then in virtually, that we've gotten great reviews on. So this really does for us in the Central Valley School District cover some unanticipated costs as we were planning for in-person education, and then switched as we followed the guidelines and the recommendations of the health department. So I just appreciate your willingness to listen to the needs that we have as school districts, and know that we as school districts in this entire region are not afraid of accountability. We're not afraid of accounting for the money that you give us. And of course, there's pretty strict guidelines around how it's spent, but know we will be good partners with you in accounting for these funds.
Okay, Mary?
So I guess one of the questions that keeps coming up, and so since I have all of you superintendents on the line here, just to help us address it, is that, this whole notion that, students aren't in class, and so therefore, they're not, you're not spending the money. And as we're seeing today, you guys are spending more money to try to do what you're doing to educate kids. And so I guess I would like just a few of you to address that topic.
So I'll address that. The more money we spent is, we've handed out 1,800 Chromebooks. We've purchased 600 more, so we have a supply. We're still going to run bus routes. We're still going to feed kids. We still have our staff. Now the staff at Medical Lake's all reporting to teach out of their classrooms. So we continue to spend dollars, and has been so a lot of that's going towards some PPE stuff. And just like with Sean needing extra staff, we need extra paraprofessionals to help supervise and support our kids. So I feel like we're spending more, it seems like.
I would add to that too, that we're educating in Spokane over 30,000 kids, and that's going to happen in real time with a teacher throughout the day. And we have to continue to meet the needs of our English language students. We have to continue by federal law, meet the needs of our special education students and comply with their individual education plan. We're not fully funded by the federal government to meet some of those educational service mandates. Those come from our general fund and our local levies. And it's not as efficient to provide services to kids in a distance learning environment than it is in person. So we're maximizing all of our staff that we have available to us to provide general education instruction as well as intervention services. Counselors are working around the clock to reach out to kids, well checks, to provide services. Our mental health therapists are continuing to meet with kids. So we might be in a distance learning environment, but the learning needs of kids, the basic needs of kids, and the intervention needs of kids, those haven't gone away. And so we're continuing to provide those with our staff. It looks different. It's more challenging because of the environment, but the need hasn't gone anywhere, and the dedication and the responsibility of our staff to do so hasn't gone anywhere. Superintendent Small just mentioned accountability. We're feeling more accountability than ever to make sure we continue to meet the needs of those kids, and it requires our staffing to do that. So we're providing the programming that we've historically provided to the best of our ability, and providing childcare in Spokane is an additional programmatic option for our families that's requiring those additional resources.
If I could, Commissioner Cuny, in the Central Valley School District, we are staffing this virtual environment as if we're going to be in person in 2 weeks. So that means our class size in kindergarten is 14. Our class size in kindergarten through 3rd grade is 14 students. Our class size in 4-5 is 18 students. And so we have scheduled our virtual learning with the teacher in kindergarten that's going to come back in person with 14 kids in their classroom in order for us to meet the distancing guidelines. So we have staffed our school year in a way that's going to allow us to return to in-person within days of being the guidelines coming out and supporting that. And so the staffing needs in our district have actually increased. And what we're doing is using every staff member flexibly so that can happen. When we return in person, there will be no shuffling of students. The teacher will stay the same, and those students will just join that teacher in the classroom, ready to go and ready to learn. So again, K3 is 14 to 1, and in our 4-5, we're at 18 to 1. We believe that that's the maximum that a 900 square foot classroom can hold. So we have staffed at that level, and we're ready to go back as soon as it is deemed that it's appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you all. I think that's important.
The only other thing I would add to that just really is we want to transition back as quickly as we possibly can based on health guidance from public officials for our kids and their learning, but also for our families and the economy and the local business community. And in order for us to do that quickly and efficiently, the more that we lose our employee groups and the lesser degree that we can find meaningful work for them, it makes it that much challenging. So if we have an employee group that gets decimated and laid off, the ability for us to pivot and go back online and restore that employee group so we can be ready operationally is that much more challenging. So I think what you are hearing from superintendents is we're trying to be very creative to meet the needs of our families, and we're trying to be very strategic leaders of organizations to be able to shift our model virtually overnight from one method to another, and do that with some employee groups that are very hard to recruit and retain as it is. We're worried about retention because we always have a hard time recruiting and retaining bus drivers. If we lose large swaths of those employee groups, it's going to make us that much harder to be ready and to shift back when we get the guidance.
So for those of you that are including PP&Es as part of your package and stuff, I anticipate that the board will approve funding and stuff like that. But the one thing I would ask is that your purchasing people, circle back with the purchasing people for Spokane County. Our purchasing department has been buying mass quantities of PP&Es, and because of that, volume has achieved some incredible pricing and stuff. And so whether we were to give you funding or whether we were to give you PP&Es that we acquire or some kind of coordination, we all want to make sure that we're getting it at the most economical price possible. So I just encourage you to do that. And Commissioner Kearns, you had your hand up.
Yeah, no, my question was actually going to be along those lines, and I was just going to ask what luck you have the superintendents have had sourcing PPEs. Has it been difficult? Because we've heard from some other entities that they've had difficulty sourcing PPEs, and so I was going to ask what your experience has been so far.
So
Ben?
So for us, we really have taken the LNI guidance out of the OSPI guidance, and we really worked to meet that guidance. we've used some of our local manufacturers who've made a switch. So we've used Mountain Dog Sign out here in Liberty Lake to build shields to shield our screeners at entryways. And so as much as we've been able to do within the guidance of CARE dollars, we've tried to go local. And when I think we placed our order actually at the end of May for PPE. And so we've got a good supply of that for starting school and using it for school. It's the extra stuff. What we don't want to do is take that and then utilize it at our daycare centers and our day camps and then not have it when we start to go back to school. And so that's our biggest challenge right now. And it is hard to get. As recently it's harder to get those PPE than it was in May and June when we first ordered it. So I really appreciate Commissioner French's offer to even if there's a stockpile, to get some of that. Stockpile is probably not the right word, but if there's an inventory that the county has, to use some of that inventory at the beginning would be just an awesome offer. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Anybody else?
And I would say, Al, to that, I think, we do have that additional, stockpile that we have right now, for our second distribution, that if we could use some of that for the schools now, order more for that second distribution in October for businesses. And then I think we'd have to check with DEM to see if, there's still a stockpile from when the EOC was all set up, that, maybe we can get use of that to have that be readily available now for school districts to then repurpose our second distribution.
Yeah, so we'll go through and find out how much we have in stock and what's available out there. And then if we need to buy, it's like face masks. I think we were buying at 33 cents each or something like that. It's just incredible pricing. So we will work our way through that stuff. So just wanted to make you aware of that. So any other questions, either Josh or Mary, for our guest?
I guess I just want to say thank you again. I've been, working with a lot of you, some of you meeting you for the first time. So welcome, and look forward to working with you as we get through the school year. I know, from the health district's perspective as well, we're on the health board. We want to get you guys back in person as soon as possible too. So we're working as hard as we can, and that's part of why Commissioner French, is talking about the PPE, because the more that we can do that in the community, the sooner we can get everybody back in person. So thank you for all you're doing. I know you guys are getting a lot of scrutiny as well. So I want you to know we all appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thanks
you
for
as well.
having us.
Okay. So commissioners, what would be your desire? What would you like to do from here?
I would like to just try to finish the list out and make sure that now that we've talked to the other, this group that's been on, that we ensure that we have a good number, and then move forward with it. There's another superintendent call on Wednesday. I'm happy to reach out to all of them again, or do we want to set an amount up to today and then know that may increase? Just so we can start, so they know that they've got this coming.
I guess that's what I was leaning toward. I'm sorry, Josh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we added Meads to the, let me pull up the list here, or if somebody on that end can pull it up. So we were able to now fill in what Medical Lake's ask was, what Mead's ask was.
Well, Mead, we don't know for sure because we got to get the count through the end of December.
Oh, well, yeah, but he said we'd have that by the end of the day. So,
yes.
We're kind of ticking these off pretty good here. It's only, so we need Deer Park, East Valley, Great Northern, Otis Orchards, 9 Mile Falls, and Newport. So we're ticking off the list pretty good here. What about did we had discussed before we took the little our little recess there that we were going to queue this up for next week, right? So I mean, I would think we could probably fill in those gaps by the time we come back next Monday and take action there. I mean, I think I just think it makes more sense to know what the ask is rather than to put just some arbitrary cap on it to where, let's just find what the ask is first.
Okay.
So if you're going to be here on Monday,
Or
Josh, you'll be
Tuesday,
the
sorry.
only one. So the rest of us aren't coming back till Tuesday.
Well, some of us just care more, Al.
God, it really feels good to be the straight man. Mary, you were going to comment?
Yeah, so I think, I'm happy to do that and work hard with the districts to get the numbers and all that. I know most of the financial people at the districts. I mean, everybody kept texting me and calling me that I know. Cindy used to work together at the state auditor's office. Leonard used to be at the state auditor's office, who's up at Meade. So I'm happy to continue to reach out. I know, like I said, 9 Mile Falls, I got today of a minimum of 10,000 was, but I mean, they would probably, I mean, it's kind of like one of those, it's like letting you know what to ask, that they can ask. I think some of them have been timid on what they can ask, what they're asking for, but I'm super excited that if food is going to be handled, we're going to be in a much better situation that I think, $3 to $3.5 million, we're going to be able to get there, especially if we can get PPE for them and help get that to them, because I think that's going to be a key. Like I said, I know that was a question that came up with East Valley, that they were concerned about even being able to open because they didn't have PPE. That was a rumor. I haven't heard it directly from East Valley, but so if we can help support them, and again, not have them draw down on their stockpiles that they have because they need it when they come face to face, that if we can help, with the different, learning centers or day camps that they're having, I see that as kind of, it's not part of their ask as much as, because it's like, I don't think we'll just be purchasing that and then giving that to them. So I think we got to look at PP&E kind of a little separately as to what the need is. So we can do that purchase separately, but this definitely, most of these did not include PPE that I saw. So
Okay.
does that help?
Yeah. So Carrie?
Commissioner, can I ask a question? Like on some of these, like Reardon Edwell, it indicates some of their student body is in Lincoln County and then some are in Spokane County. Is that correct? So how are we distinguishing the amount that Spokane County is going to cover for possible Lincoln County residents?
Right. I think when they sent me theirs, I'd have to look at it, Carrie, but I think they were looking at internet connectivity in Spokane County.
Okay.
2/3 of their students are Spokane County, 1/3 are not.
Okay.
I don't know about the others. I think like Newport, most of those are going to be Monterey and not Spokane County. I think there's a few kids up north at Choice Inn. So it's just going to be figuring that out. So if Reardon Edwald, if 2/3 of their students are Spokane County, can we just not have to worry about the allocation, or do we have to worry about the allocation?
I think if like 2/3 of the population for the amount, we can probably, be okay on that.
Okay.
We just have to have something, I guess, in our files that would indicate what the population base was for the county. Just
Okay,
for inspection purposes. And we could look at the amount too as well. I just want to be cognizant of that when we're going through and doing contracts, I guess. And
Right,
we could
and so-
possibly do something along those lines.
Carrie, Justin Flaw is actually works up at Reardon Edwald. So I can work with him.
Oh,
remember-
that's right. He is now, isn't he?
He is, so yeah.
Yeah,
He'll be
okay,
directly with, we'll be able to figure that out.
correct. And we could probably do it with the other districts that are listed on here as well.
Because I think 9 Mile Falls is primarily in Spokane County as well, but I don't know.
It's also
We'll make sure we
Big
put that in
Sandy
any contracts after the commissioners make the decision.
Stevens County.
Okay. And like
And-
Deer Park, Jerry, Deer Park, is that
Deer Park, most of their students are in Spokane County, but it does creep into Williams Valley and meanders, I believe, into southern Stevens County. Most of 9 Mile Falls is the Suncrest area and then north into Stevens County, but there might be a part of it on the other side of the river, but I'm not sure of that.
Riverside also picks up a little bit of Stevens County.
It does.
I was having a conversation with one of their school board members last week, and he had said they do have some up there. So yeah.
So we'll push to try and get everything put together for next Tuesday, so that we can take an action. If we don't have everything done, we can go ahead and take an action on those that we do, just because school is right around the corner. So we want to try and get them resources to be able to facilitate that. So does that sound like an okay game plan, Mary?
It does. The other question that did come up is there's a couple of private schools, and a couple of them asked if CARES dollars would be available to them. I guess my thought is if we look to the universities to do PPE, maybe we would look to do PP&E for those. I don't know, just throwing it out there.
Well, I guess from my standpoint, I treat them the same way that we were talking about earlier today with regard to the universities. Regardless of whether they're in a private school or a public school, they're still in the community and they still are exposed to potentially the virus. So why wouldn't we take care of them, kind of a deal. So that's just my perspective. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree.
And that's just from a PPE perspective, correct?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Perfect.
Because that would bring Gonzaga Prep, St. George, Northwest Christian. I mean, there's a number of those schools in the county.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, ultimately, what we don't want them to do is get an infection at school, take it home to the parents, and now we got a community outbreak, and now we're heading in the wrong direction.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right.
I will work it.
Well, I tell you, this is so much fun. Golly. So, anything else for the good of the cause for this morning? Otherwise, we'll continue this afternoon at 2 o'clock. So, anything else you want to bring up? Miscellaneous matters or anything else? Condition of the weather? Nothing? Okay. So then.
Jerry, did you just raise your hand?
Jerry's always got something.
Well, I was going to wait till this afternoon, but I thought, why not just do it now? This is a correspondence I've been having with Mark. I know, I don't know how you guys put up with it. Kathleen has asked Mark McLean, who's one of our new attorneys, to look into some rules for HHAA funds. And what she's asking him is, the reason we ask that you look into this is because the rules specific to the federal funding our department receives for community services, housing, and community development purposes do not allow Spokane County to apply for or receive our department's federal funding for the general conduct of government.
Carrie?
Because of this, Carrie, come here. Because of this, we're trying to determine if it's also true for the HHAA state document recording fee funding that we receive. While we have reviewed the RCW, it could not find where it prohibited or restricted Spokane County from receiving these HHAA funds if selected as a recipient of our RFP. We felt it prudent to verify this with legal as to your opinion regarding RCW 43.185, as well as if there's any Spokane County policies or other legal or statutory reasons why Spokane County would not be allowed to be an applicant or recipient of this RFP's HAAA funding. They'd like us to receive this information next few weeks. The reason I'm bringing this up is Jim, and fill in the blanks, Jim told Mr. McLean, you need to visit with Jerry because I'm not so sure that this is a direction that the board wants to go down this path. And so I'm just bringing it up for, I don't remember.
I thought there was some discussion in the past about the whole homeless situation and how this applied. Mark happened to bring it to my attention simply because he thought that Kathleen's question was extremely general and was having trouble getting his head around it, and thought that it would be a lengthy matter from a resource standpoint. So he brought that to me in that context, and I wasn't sure where ultimately the board wanted to go on that, and I didn't want to expend that sort of resources if we were going down a rat hole, so to speak. And that's why I had him refer that to Jerry and get Jerry's thoughts on this matter to see whether, from a policy perspective, the board wanted to go that way. So that's kind of how that came about.
Have we got you completely confused yet?
Yeah, you're there.
Yeah.
My, my
Yes, we did,
task
Jerry.
is done then.
So is mine.
So do you want to try it again this afternoon?
Yeah. The part of this is part of this might have been an executive session, and I'll talk with Jim again a little bit more about this. And then either bring it up or you'll never hear from me on this issue again.
Okay.
See, and I think what if I can, from what I talked to Kathleen, I think the problem is we are the ones administering the politics, the program. So does it prevent Spokane County from applying for funds that we are
That are
administering?
general county or government business is what their question is. Does that
Correct.
prohibit us
Correct.
from doing that?
They're just wondering if there's a conflict, since we're administering the funds, can we apply for funds when we're administering?
That's a good point.
That's what she's asking.
But the other question is, I think that Jim brought up, is the fact is that the board even want to pursue
Right.
this, go down this path in the first
It's kind
place,
of a policy question.
whether we're allowed to or not. That's what I think what part of that is.
Okay.
Yes.
I guess I would say, let's find out if we are allowed to or not first, so we actually know.
Mark has his marching orders then.
Okay.
Thank you.
So as long as we're talking about that, so over the weekend, well, actually on Friday, I talked to the president of the Landlord Association, and the city has put out its application for rental and or mortgage assistance for their CARES or CDBG funding. And it is, I'm going from memory, but it's like a 14 to 16 page application with social commitments and a number of other things that come with the funding. And the general sense is nobody's going to apply for it because it's too onerous on the landlords and property owners. And so the reason why I'm bringing it up is that I want to forewarn you that we might get additional pressure to try and do something with regard to rental assistance or mortgage relief greater than what we've experienced in the past, because there is a high level of frustration with the city's program and approach. So I just want to, no action for us today, but just want to put that on your radar that we might end up getting more pressure from that standpoint, because as based upon the Landlord Association, it's such an onerous program that they didn't anticipate any of their members pursuing the program. Mary, you were going to comment?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of frustrating, because the Department of Commerce has, the grant that we got. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it doesn't have to be, very onerous, I don't think. So that would be frustrating to have that be the way it is.
Well, the city expanded the program to include all these other wants that the city council and or city staff, I'm going to assume it's council, want to try and impose on landlords that go well beyond just financial relief for the tenants. Annual commitments and a whole bunch of other stuff that really commit landlords to, and a waiving of rights and a bunch of other stuff. So it's really, it's not the source of the money that's requiring all these additional conditions. it's a city council that's requiring all additional conditions.
It's their policies, just like we're regional on homelessness, except their policies are different than ours.
Yep, that's it.
It's regional, but their policies are different from everyone else's.
Yes,
So not just ours.
not just ours, exactly.
Yeah. Commissioner French, can you get a copy of that application for it? Was that sent to you by any chance?
It wasn't sent to me. It was shared with
Okay.
me, but wasn't sent to me. You can go online to SpokaneCity.org,
there?
and it's
Okay.
on their website in terms of the CARES funding.
And I'll look for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And we have Kathleen coming in later today, right?
yes, this afternoon.
Yes,
Okay.
we do.
Let's if we can remember to ask her kind of what the latest is on the commerce dollars for rental assistance, kind of what the progress is on that. Because I know we'd done the RFP for it, and so I think we're just to see kind of what the timeline is and kind of when the next big hurdles are gonna be over.
So maybe, John, if you could give Kathleen the heads up about that.
Got it.
Great, thank you. There is one more miscellaneous thing that, with the reappointment of Chuck Hafner tomorrow at 2:00, I'm getting a lot of calls from people. And I'm, just being honest with them that, just like I told you two commissioners that,
What kind of calls?
well, just a second, I'll tell you in a second. So,
Okay.
so I'm telling everybody that, Jim called everybody on Friday, since I knew it was going to be on the agenda on Tuesday, to let the people that applied know that Chuck was coming back. And so just like we told them, and I'm telling everybody, and Jerry, just so you know too, that, Chuck and I had a conversation. He's feeling much better. Things have changed in his life, that he wanted to come back. I hadn't filled the position yet. And so I'm bringing him back to finish his term. And it's as simple as that. There's no ill intent on any part to discriminate from any group or any of that. But it truly was Chuck's position. And so I'm letting him come back. And I think having his history with the health district at this point in time, and having his knowledge with schools as schools opening, is going to be a big issue, that he's the right person at the right time, and it's his position. So that's where I'm standing on that.
Okay, we have it on the agenda, so we're going to take action on it tomorrow.
Makes perfect sense.
Yep.
So, Jared, just so you know, because I definitely got a few calls. I had a few people say that they had friends that were going to call some of the commissioners. So,
I understand.
I haven't received any calls
very good.
or emails at this point, I don't think. So.
Neither am I, but just because I'm lonely. Okay, anything else? Okay, so we are adjourned until 2:00. Thank you very much. Have a nice lunch.
Thank you.
Bye.
Saturday.